to me.
We are recording. Greetings, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, Jim.
Let's see. We get someone described today.
Let's see here. Yeah, I could jump in and scribe. If you could post the, there we go, that's what I was looking for.
And let's see.
21st.
So
Oh, okay, good. So you have everything all set up for me.
yeah, I guess I'll let you fill it out.
Yeah, that you did the hard part, setting up the template, so I can.
And do we have any folks here that haven't been here before? Looks like we know everybody. And we have any other topics for today? We're just going to mention the board member nominations, qualifications, the item of business submission.
I'd like to bring up node testing as a topic.
All right.
Here, I'll put it in there. Node testing, actually node testing priorities. Okay.
Just to clarify, are we doing this as a governance meeting or are we doing this as something else?
Just a members meeting. Okay. The intention was just to go around and see what's on people's mind next.
Okay.
And then cover whatever topics people come up with that they want to bring up. And I suppose we could mix the introductions and the topics. Bill, what's on your mind today?
I am, well, while I'm in this meeting, I'm writing up some other stuff. So the project manager role is on my mind that we're trying to fill, and working through some candidates on that. And then as well, we just newly posted a technical documentation specialist opening that we're trying to fill as well, believing that it's gonna take some time to get that filled because we've had that posted before without success. We had we had over 200 applicants last time around, but didn't find the right fit for that. So we're posting it now with the idea that it's going to take a little while to get that filled with the right person. So that's currently what's on my mind right now.
All right. Fabian?
I'm excited about the hearing what Bill just shared as issues around technical documentation show up on a regular basis. Ned and I were on a call this morning with a wallet regarding some work that we can do with them specifically around the ROC Rev conversion. And technical documents are in great need right now for us to be able to move certain things forward.
Wow.
Yeah, what's on my mind is the development priorities. So we're making progress there. We're kind of identifying the last couple of issues in the specification and implementation and responsibilities thereof. So we're kind of this week finalizing or detailing the cost accounting tasks. And there was a meeting this morning to go over the Casper testing scenarios, and the team is working on that. So that's what's on my mind.
And Ned.
Kind of to reiterate what people said, how we're going to move forward with any of these companies wanting to support Rev with a wallet when what I've just heard is we have no technical documentation. So how are we going to engage with anybody? Are we going to have to put a SWAT team together of some of the devs to work hand in hand with them? And, you know, that's kind of expensive and time consuming. But we have about 2 months to mainnet, so this is something we got to figure out.
To add a little tech docs, wallets, all related. Where a lot of us are focused on the same thing right now.
Yeah, once Jim is done with his going around the table, maybe we can just process that to see what needs to be done. I would like to support that as to how we get that done, whatever is needed to engage with the third party.
I wanted to add to that as well with the technical writing, just dropping into the chat. This is the latest RChain platform architecture. And the date there, July 22nd, 2017, more than 2 years ago. It has gone through some updates, and it can be worked on through the GitHub repo that we have set up. We were just asking Greg yesterday about it. He said that he had been looking into making a few changes there, but this, I mean, in my opinion, this is one of the first documents we have to work on. It's a prerequisite for a lot of things, including sometimes getting onto exchanges, being able to show a white paper.
So, Ian, you're saying there has been no additional. I mean, there are no other places where this document has been updated since July 27th, 2017.
Well, the Read the Docs site that I gave the link to, so that's connected to the RChain architecture docs repo on GitHub, and there you can look at the issues and pull requests. And, I mean, that's a place where we could start doing the work.
Okay. Yeah, I did ask Greg after the meeting yesterday because he said it was slow going, and I asked him, well, what sources are there for updating this document? And he and I are supposed to have a meeting on that to identify where we can pull the additional information to be able to update this. I'm wondering, are there more people that need to be part of that meeting? Because even if we have a tech writer with us tomorrow, we have to point them to, you know, here is the stuff you get started with, to say, here is the base document, here are the changes, kind of thing. Are there more people that want to be part of that?
No. Well, you bring up a great point, Rao, which is to find somebody, they're going to need some time to get up to speed.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah,
where do they get that information?
Right. So think about it. If we find somebody who's a great tech writer but doesn't know about our project, so they're not on Discord, they haven't been following us. I mean, what's it going to take them? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks before they can even start writing intelligently.
Yeah. That's exactly my point.
Right.
So what I'm wondering is, should we?
And we're going to need to ingrain them with the dev team, and they're going to need to be sitting with them either real in place or virtually to get this information. To think that person is going to be able to go off and come back and ask a couple questions, I don't think is a recipe for success. So it's almost like onboarding another full-time developer.
Right. So what I'm wondering is, should, for example, Ned, you, me, Chris, whoever else is appropriate, perhaps with some guidance from Greg, because I don't know how much time he has, and perhaps some guidance from Mike Stay, kind of begin to put these pieces together to the best we can, writers, to basically get going along to meet two objectives, I guess, to at least get something that is satisfactory for engaging third parties, and perhaps pull together enough for a potential tech writer to come and engage with when they come.
How do we read this thing anyway? I mean, if I click on the link, it tells me permission denies. You don't have proper permission to use this page. So read the docs. RChain architecture is apparently not publicly accessible. So I'm a little bit at a loss here as to how I even read it.
Well, you can install Sphinx from the repo, but give me a minute. Let me find another link for the read the docs.
Well, while Ian is finding that, here's what I'm worried about, is that if we just sit around and say, well, there's no tech writer and it's not going to be easy for them to finish this job in a timely fashion, we'll be in the same boat a month from now is what I'm worried about. So I think we need to think about how we move this forward.
And if there's anybody on the dev side that has some ability to be a tech writer or can be the right hand of the official tech writer that gets on board. We need someone to be able to be in partnership with a tech writer to help expedite the process of generating these documents.
Mm-hmm. Is anyone else having trouble with that link? Because I was able to get through in a fresh browser.
I'm in.
Okay. Also, the original authors, it lists Joseph Denman. So maybe he might be able to help out in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's on the dev team, and I guess it's a matter of balancing the feature delivery versus the documentation is the thing. But
so I just heard from Chris.
I can certainly talk to him.
Yeah, I've been texting back and forth with Chris Boscolo, and he's going to do the legwork to pull in all the details. And he said he'll pull the details out of the code wiki and get it into the hands of the writer's hands, but we don't have a tech writer. But so the 4 points he's outlined that he's going to work on are a high-level description of rev vaults, rev addresses, and how to deploy RChain transactions, how to create a rev address from the SECP 256K1 key pair, how to query a rev balance, and how to transfer rev to a rev address. But that's really what we need.
So I tried 2 different browsers. Did everyone else get that address? I put it in the chat.
Yeah, I got it. It worked fine for me in my old browser. Didn't have to refresh.
Gary, can you get it? Steve?
Yeah,
I-
I think I pulled it up earlier.
Pull off the call now. My mother just got here.
I'm just wondering why I can't get the link if everyone else can.
I'm able to get that, Jim.
Jim, the link you posted looks different from the one I posted.
I can get to GitHub, but the GitHub points to the read the docs.
Oh, you're saying that that RChain's architecture docs repo is restricted?
Okay, the first line, the architecture docs repro there says Sphinx source for the architecture docs http rchain-architecture.rtfd.io.
Okay, that sounds wrong.
Okay, that's the address where you,
Try the link which is in the Zoom chat.
okay. So that's just, yeah, I missed that link.
Who maintains this RTFD link?
I don't think it is maintained. I think Dan Connolly maintained in the past, and I saw it was down, so I just redirected to someone else's copy, which is that architecture-docs.readthedocs.io. I'm not sure who owns that. So when we start doing work, then we can, rehost it up on our own Read the Docs.
Right.
As for the deliverables, the work that that Ned, you and Rao were speaking about, that Chris is overseeing, is that separate from this architecture doc, or would you bundle it in as part of?
A tech writer could funnel it in, but the first step is we have to be prepared when we do the swap with wallets.
Right.
So, I think I've suggested to Chris that he's agreed to pull the data in. I could work with him on the writing. We just need something to send to, anybody who's interested. And then once we get a tech writer, they can take that and put that into our larger architectural document.
Right.
So basically the focus of that document would be third party, what we have to tell a third party that wants to work with us, correct, Ned?
Yeah, that's what we've been finding
Yeah.
over and over again.
So that's what Chris is volunteering to initiate. There is a separate activity within the dev team called features doc, and I have not looked at it yet, and I don't even have the link right now. But that's something sort of, I guess, the developer team is beginning to look into, so that for them to maintain and troubleshoot issues, they know where to go to, kind of thing. So that may also be publishable to the general public at some point. I don't know if it is there right now, but that's something I just learned about in the last hour or so. So I'll look into that. and see if any part would be exposed to the community dab. So.
I guess an issue that Nutzipper brought up was obtaining a private key for a My Ether wallet.
Well, yeah, so, yeah, I can talk to that. So the new versions of My Ether Wallet do not expose a private key. You know, they switched over, I don't know, 6-7 months ago when they kind of had a split of management. And so now you have My Crypto and My Ether Wallet, and none of them show you your private key anymore. Now, they do give you your passphrase. And the one thing I liked about this Magnum wallet that we spoke to this morning, you could enter in that 24-word passphrase that My Ether Wallet or My Crypto give you, and actually you can find your private key. So now you can get your private key if you don't have one. So now if you have an older My Ether Wallet from probably 6 or 7 months ago, and I'm not sure of the exact dates, then you would probably have your private key, but now they made a change and they don't show that anymore, you know, for obvious reasons. Magnum Wallet is pretty cool because you could actually get to your wallet using your 12 or 24-word passphrase and then get your private key. So there's lots of ways now that you can get your private key. And then we need, so now let's say Magnum Wallet supports the Rev conversion. You would either be able to use a 24-word passphrase or the private key that you have from the previous incarnation of your My Ether Wallet, and then they would be able to, with some tech docs, derive your new Rev wallet address from your private key. So it seems like, and I'm sure MetaMask, if we get on board with them, we'll do that. So the blocker I brought up last week was the fact that My Ether Wallet no longer will show you your private key.
But it's compatible with BIP39. So from your passphrase, you can generate those keys.
But I tried that and I had no luck. So when I created a brand new wallet with My Ether Wallet on my mobile device and got my passphrase, and then I put that passphrase into that website, Ian, the Ethereum address that they derived did not match what my Ethereum address was in My Ether Wallet.
Where are you talking about? The BIP39 tool site?
Yeah, Ian has the link. And
yeah, I dropped an example. I know there are some switches and different formats for BIP39, so it can be a pain. But if you know how your wallet implements it, then they often have a guide how to use the BIP39 recovery.
well, then the question is that really do we really expect our user base who, you know, is going to be using this to be able to navigate through that? And I'm not sure that's realistic.
Well, my understanding, this is a static page where we could just change it to be exactly the parameters we want. This is just a static web page. It doesn't hit the server, any server.
Right, and they actually recommend that you run it, that you save it to your local machine and then run it locally, not connect.
Right. Well, we can modify it easily so to take all the options we want by default.
You know, listen, if you want to take that on, have at it. You know, for me, I'm going to pursue getting wallets with a better UI that we could support other kinds of members. But yeah, I mean, I think the more options we have, the better.
All right. It would be good if people would turn their cameras on when they're speaking. The higher bandwidth communication is better for collective intelligence. Where are we? So the documentation is Chris is leading on that, and we're going to. I don't know if there's any help from the community that anybody wants to offer on that. And the other major thing, is there anything else we want on that? We have we do have the anything else on the documentation? The go to testing.
Where are we at, Jim, in the agenda?
Well, we're at wherever people want to go. Did everyone get to introduce themselves? I guess everyone, but
I didn't get a chance, but I'll just later on. I've just been thinking about our DApp developer working group meeting yesterday, where we were discussing node testing and putting together a dev tool. So we can talk about that if we have time during the session towards the end. And when I say dev tool, you know, the thought was proposed yesterday of creating a dev faucet to where we have a user interface, and a DApp developer can go there and request test rev. So that's the idea behind a dev faucet.
all right. So we just had board member nominations. I guess everyone here is well aware that we have the deadline coming up in 3 days for the board member nominations. I would suggest people go to the poll Gary put up. It was pretty interesting. If everyone goes there, we will have a little more representative sense from the community, so to speak. If I can find my chat, I'll put it up. But if you click on cast votes here, now it's like Donna Haraway wasn't even there like 2 days ago, and now she got up to the top here. A pretty cool person. I don't think she's particularly interesting or anything. I think Gary said he just put her name in there, but you can I guess most of these people are not going to put their name in, but we do have Daryl. Well, Dimworm's already on the board, right? We have Steve on the board. Let's see if we can hit view all here. We have Rich Jensen here now. I guess he hasn't put himself forward. He could. Dan Salbach has put himself forward. But in any case, it's easy to put somebody on here that you think would be interested in get. I don't know. We want to encourage people that we would want on the board to submit. It's like this morning I was giving Darryl a little push. He wasn't sure whether he was going to want to go or not. But and I guess there's people that aren't on here at all that probably should be on here, like Ian. I guess because Ian has already said he's not going to be doesn't want the position. In any case, it's easy to put people in here. Cast votes. You can stick the person's name here. And you just have these pairwise theory and selections of binary choices, which then affects the results, apparently. And we have the email address where people send if they're interested in, and I went through the direct qualification on here. The IOB submissions. Ian opened the channel on that. If we go here, and we have item of business. Looks like September 15th is the deadline. Nothing has been entered here yet. We're having the governance meeting tomorrow at noon Eastern time. We will probably come up with an item of business based on the GP001 member raising, a business to the forum. And robot voting testing. I don't know who wants to participate in that. I was going to run a test on a standalone version, and then on the sandbox maybe tomorrow. So you complete a test standalone today. We'll run on the sandbox tomorrow. And running a test of the liquid democracy running on testnet would ultimately be a feather in our cap. Right now, the proposed time is too long for it to be relevant. But it's something we could do. So let's see, if we were going to run a test, let's say today, let's see, we have the debrief at 2, 3. We were to do it at 4 o'clock. Who would be interested in? Would anybody here participate in the voting test at 4 p.m. today?
I'll be on the road at that time.
Any other volunteers? Okay, well, we'll put it off to some other time then. Probably the meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Okay. And we had no testing priorities and dev tools.
Yeah, that was something that I added. So, so yesterday during our DApp developer working group, and I know Ned, you were on the call yesterday for the first hour, and just part of this is maybe to catch Ned up. During the second hour, we kind of went into a different direction based on some comments from NupZipper, who he's been doing quite a bit of node testing, and probably has a better understanding or intimate knowledge of the nodes and the node networks, what's stable and what's not. So initially during our call yesterday, we were thinking about coming up with rolling scripts or an application to run grammars or generate grammars and so forth. And Zebra said, the problem is the testing isn't necessarily that we need to do with a single node and testing the row VM and some of the other components. Those are relatively stable. The parts of the platform that are not stable are where you're deploying to multiple nodes and the consensus is involved. So he's so in order to get the most impact for the time and effort, his recommendation was to focus on deploying multiple applications in different sequences to test the multiple nodes, the consensus component. So so that was the focus during the second half of the hour, and how we might be better work towards reaching those objectives. And then he also mentioned that it'd be nice to have a user interface, and I guess I spoke to this briefly earlier. So a user interface that is creating a dev faucet. So the idea is there's a website that developers go to, create an account, and they can check out a certain number of a test rev that they can use to use as an expense when they run their rolling scripts and so forth. So so apparently there's a ticket. Chris Boscolo mentioned in Discord there's a ticket for us to the community request test rev. I haven't looked at the ticket yet, but that'd be the process. Find out what the process is to get test rev for the community, have a user interface for a dev faucet, then have a treasury, and then as devs create accounts, those test rev are allocated to individuals. And then I think what we would want to do is for each dev that creates an account and checks out test rev, whenever they use it for development, to have some type of reporting or feedback on what it is they're doing, and the results in all that can kind of be discussed during the DApp developer working group as far as what the criteria is for a DApp developer to create an account and to have to check out test rev. So those are some of the concepts we talked about yesterday. But essentially, it's what can we in a larger scheme is what can we do to help make it easier for DApp developers to build on RChain, and having tools such as a faucet for testing will certainly go a long way. So there was some. So those were my comments.
So right now, or what we used to have, was a contract, a faucet contract where we could generate rev. Now, is that faucet not going to work anymore?
Well, the way I understood it by the meetings I've been in, the faucet that used to exist no longer works. That's been my understanding. So
Right now, they have this wallets file that you're supposed to include or whatever. I don't know exactly what that is, but in the current release, I guess it'll allow you to deploy without having a balance still.
all the specifics, I need to get up to speed on that. So
So tomorrow morning when we do testing, I don't know whether we're going to do testing with the sandbox or with testnet or what. I guess Rao's not here. I guess we'll find out.
He had to reboot his computer.
Okay. So with the .12 release, we still could deploy without having a wallet. So it's only, I guess, when we get beyond that and the cost of the accounting is fully released. I guess that's testnet 3. I don't know, but that we'll have to have. We won't be able to deploy without having a wallet with rev in it.
right. So yeah, that would be testnet 3, I believe.
And if we can't
Cost accounting.
rev now, then we can't with the old method. Then we can't test any contracts having to do with transferring rev around.
Yeah, we probably can't test in that currently, but if we can work towards kind of understanding what this, the process is for requesting test rev, work towards building up the faucet. There's a lot of prep work involved in order to be, so it maybe work out when testnet 3 comes live, then we'll have kind of the pieces together to be able to maximize testing on that.
So in the meantime, if we're building a standalone network or standalone system, or we're running on the sandbox, we can supply a wallets file and a bonds file where we can have accounts that have rev in them.
Okay.
And maybe we should be prepared well, we have assigned some private keys to some people for testnet. We haven't tried that yet. Maybe that's a good thing to do tomorrow.
Okay.
Just to see if, see if we can actually use a private key that we're assigned from this to become a validator for one thing on the sandbox, and for another thing to do transactions, to have a wallet that actually has Rev in it, and transfer, do some transfer of Rev, and then when if we have a wallet that already has Rev in it, or we can get some using this faucet. That's two ways we can deploy the testnet 3, right? I just don't, in order to run, I guess there has to be some Rev in order to run somebody has to have Rev in order to run the faucet.
Right.
All right. So do you have any other topics? Anything else? Okay. Well, thanks all. We've got 12 minutes before the debrief. I'll give you back the rest of the time.
Okay. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks all.